was. Literally.
Alright, everybody, welcome. If you would, general housekeeping.
Use the mic.
Yes. Silence your phone, please. If you need to take a call or something, step out.
I'm right here. Hang on, I've got one more to do.
David will be placing up the delegates and alternates. If you did not sign in and you were a delegate and alternate, please raise your hand and let Dave know, and he will bring you the book.
Here you go.
You got a pen, Earl?
Yep. I'm mixed up here.
And as before, if you are seated in front of a microphone, I think it goes maybe 3 rows back.
Yep.
There's a little light that should be red on your microphone, and then down the base. If you hit that button on the base, it'll go from green to red, or red to green.
Yeah, red and green.
Either or, depending on whether you're turning it on or off. So if you need to get my attention, just get my attention, and I think we did a pretty good job of making sure everybody's questions and stuff were answered last time. So
One more on the way. Yay. But if it doesn't make it, it doesn't make it. David Cole said he was coming. David Cole said he was coming. He's from the Legion. But I don't see the message. Wait.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
everybody call the meeting, the VAC Madison County for the 3rd quarter to order. Chaplain, can you get ready the opening prayer, and we'll all stand and do the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge first.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we welcome you amongst us today and celebrate the gift of life that each have lavished upon each of us. We ask that you would open our ears so that we may hear your voice, open our minds that we may receive your eternal wisdom, open our spirits so that we may know your leading your leadership, and your guidance. In your name we pray. Amen.
Welcome, everyone. Appreciate you giving up your time to be here tonight with us. Anybody show up that needs to sign in, that's a delegate or an alternate, you can come in, just raise your hand, they will get you signed in, or I got it here, sorry. As always, there's documents up front here that I'll be referring to as we go through the meeting. All right, so in your packet, I'll be going down the agenda, and then I've already referred to stuff. I'll let you guys know which documents and stuff I'm referring to. So right now, do a roll call for quorum. American Legion 113, Ron Giovanni. Here. Alternate Anthony Bargill. American Legion 126. Here. Tim O'Connell. Alternate Greg Gates.
Here.
American Legion 199, Ron Swain. Here. Alternate Wes Sterling. American Legion 214, Larry Meisenheimer.
Here.
No alternate. American Legion 307, Don Shire. Alternate David Johnson.
Here.
American Legion 354, Earl Watts. Here. Alternate Joshua Young. American Legion 365, Larry Rose. Alternate Wayne Powers. American Legion 435, David Coble.
Here.
Alternate Philip Bailey. American Legion 439, Ken Morales.
Present.
Alternate 5, Brian Windsor. American Legion 564, John Altman. Alternate Dennis Fuller. Here. American Legion 665, Catherine Coates. Alternate James Schlepper. American Legion 708, Brett Lehman.
Here.
Alternate Tim Schoner. American Legion 794, Chris Johnson. Alternate Philip Stevens. American Legion 1167, Delegate Richard Leidenberg. Here. Alternate Vern Cunningham. American Legion 54, Christopher Miller. Delegate. Alternate. No alternate. Ambex 204, no delegate or alternate. DAV 53, Terry Shepard. Here. Alternate David Ford. DAV 90, Delegate Ronnie Hicks. Here. Alternate David Cotton. Marine Corps League 1160, Mark Nelson. Here, sir. Alternate Lynn Heimer. BFW 976, Anthony Avers. Alternate Tim O'Donnell. BFW 1299, Delegate Larry Miller. Here. Alternate Richard Dickover.
Here.
BFW 1300, James Shupp. Alternate Dave Kumiak. BFW 1308, Steve Capico. Alternate Brad Young. BFW 2222, Vernon LeClaire. Here. Alternate Steve Kaiser, sorry.
Here.
BFW 2859, Scott Kirsch. Alternate Leroy Duncan. BFW 5691, Alonzo Skipper.
Here, sir.
Alternate Ted Jackson.
Here.
I'll get you to sign in later.
Okay, sorry.
BFW 5694, Kate Broadhurst.
Present.
Alternate Michael Vogel.
Here.
Say that right, Vogel.
Bagley.
You butchered my name, sorry. BFW 7678, Chris Miller. Alternate Tim Brown. there anybody that I did not call that's a delegate or alternate?
So 15. Jackson's one. Let's skip it.
There being 15 delegates, alternate, or delegates or alternates present, we have a quorum to conduct the affairs of the third quarter Madison County Veterans Assistance Commission meeting. Next on the agenda, you guys should have picked up 2 sets. Last quarterly meeting, we were supposed to approve the March 16th meeting minutes. I handed them out, but I did not record if there was a motion taken, so I'm not 100% sure if there was a motion taken on them or not. So I just reprinted them out again. If you guys want, you can go ahead and take a few minutes to review them. That were already passed out before as well. And then you'll also notice that you have last quarterly meeting minutes from the 16th, or the June 15th, sorry, as well. So go ahead and take some time to review those as well.
Sir, are you a delegate or an alternate?
Alternate.
What's your name?
Cunningham. Vernon?
Vernon Cunningham, 1167?
Yeah. Got caught in repairs on the highway. It's my
Just go ahead.
command.
Yep, yep, so, since you're not here, I won't be able to sign,
Okay.
but go ahead and, there's your information.
I'll
You said-
bring it to the attention.
Yeah, they need to forward it, yeah. Hey, Mr. Clinton. Hand the one page in, thank you. Yeah, I just grabbed it. I just grabbed it. Ted. Now.
You might need more time. Call for a motion.
I'll second it.
Guys, please say your name and your post.
Tim Powell, post 126.
What is the other name? Connor?
Connell, C-O-N-N-E-L.
What post number?
126.
126?
Yes.
Any discussion over the March first quarter meeting minutes first?
There's no hang time. Could I ask that in future minutes, people who make comments be identified as delegates or alternates as opposed to representatives?
Yeah, we went back and forth on that. It's, when we're preparing them, when we're typing them up, it's easier just to call them, because they're both representatives, whether they're delegate or alternate.
I wasn't elected by my post to be a representative, I was elected to be a delegate.
All right. Any discussion? Call for it. All in favor for the first quarter meeting minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to the second quarter meeting minutes. That was the one from September, or June 15th.
Jackson 5691, I motion that we accept the report.
I'll second. Ron Cudini, 113.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ron Cudini. Ron Cudini, Post 113, American Legion.
Moving on to the next agenda item of the consideration and approval of the third quarter financial report. The first, for the second page is the office contact information, and office information. Second page is the financials. We had levied for 2023, $1,108,465. As of this last quarter, the special revenue fund, we had $1,778,917.67. Used checking, $1,375.40. Used checking, $6,165.97. Page 4 is the administrative services financial for the third quarter. I'm looking at the third quarter column. Cable television, that's actually internet services, $194.16. Dues and memberships, $50. Internet services, this is our nice little Wi-Fi box here, $57.48. Miscellaneous data processing equipment, $352.01. Office furniture, $40. Office supplies, $172.26. Outreach, $500. Postage, $255.62. Service contracts, $406.04. Staff training, $900. Telephone expenses, $444.99 for a total of $3,332.56. Next page, financial assistance. Third quarter, veterans assistance 23, vouchers issued 50. Third quarter column, contingencies $1,500, electricity $8,269.77, food $6,099.66, funeral and burial $1,800, gas $359.83, incidentals personal $5,059.02, medical $57.49. Pet supplies, $424.25. Sewage, $40. Shelter, $6,838.53. And water, $471.85. For a total $30,880.40. And then the last page is just our outreach, which happens every Thursday at Woodlands Golf Course at 10:30 on the first, second, fourth, and then on the third Thursday at 10 at Hickory Grove Restaurant. Do I
Yes, going back to the contingencies, I noticed that this month there was nothing in contingencies. But when I did go back, because I had a question before, and I went back and I went on the website and I pulled off the checkbook, the account. And I noticed that $49,857 was spent for legal with Thomas Booker, and $15,000 was for EMK consulting. I guess my question is, EMK consulting, what are they doing for us? And is the bulk of what we paid for the lawyer for rewriting the Bible?
So the first part of the EMK consulting, that was the passage of the software that happened back, the discussions that happened back at the end of the fiscal year 2022. It was approved first quarter March, and then that was only the initial payment, to get it going. So that's still in development there. As far as the attorney's fees, a lot of those started racking up at the end of August of 2022. As a result of everything that happened over the last year. So for the last quarter, a lot of those expenses were responding to FOIA requests, responding to a whole plethora of activity that was out of our VAC activity that was more in the legal field, or in the legal realm. In 2022, in August, when we started having legal fees, I made a commitment that I would not get heavily involved in the legal aspects of things of the office because it's just too much. And I'm not a subject matter expert, and I'm not a lawyer. So, and then a lot of the stuff happened that the legislature changed the Military Veterans Assistance Act, which that is a law. So versus me trying to interpret what I felt the law was, and that's where we engaged the lawyer. So a lot of that was primarily interpreting
Okay,
new statute.
what would you say the percentage was for the law? I mean, how much of that? I don't know.
I mean, I have the actual invoices and stuff.
I just saw the numbers and I just,
Yeah,
I was just wondering, $50,000 so far this year.
yeah,
Seemed like pretty good.
yep.
Okay.
It's expected, but all of that had, we didn't engage in all of that. It was all a result of being reactive versus,
So why is there nothing for this quarter?
because we didn't have any. We didn't have it to respond to any legal matters until just within the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And we got another, I'm going to address that here later on in the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Sorry guys, if my horse's throat or sore. My horse throat sore.
Brett Jackson, 5691. On page 3, I want to make sure that I'm clear, and certainly all the representatives do. We'd like to make sure we understand, on the $1,778,917.67, that is a lot of that presently is for usage completely for the VAC?
Yeah, so our levy, last year we started getting the minimum, right, and that was around $1 million. And then just within the last couple of weeks, is when the treasurer started crediting the previous year's tax being collected, to our everybody's accounts, I guess you would say. So that's why that number's that high. Does that make sense?
That explains that. The second part of it is, I did the levy we posted for the county for the year 2022 was, we should be entitled to $1,443,198. So have we received any of those funds, do you know?
Well, we received the last year's request, and then this year's, we just voted on that. We're in the budget talks with the county right now, so that won't go up until, I think they have November, their county board meeting in November is when that budget will be passed for 2024. So we also have what's called the special revenue fund where we had close to $1 million from when we won our lawsuits and the settlements, that was like 650,000. So 650,000 is there just waiting to.
That answers all my finances. And just a point of order, perhaps you could provide copies for the commission representatives of the bill the attorney submitted to that. We certainly would like to look at, and we can be of a lot of help.
Yeah, we can do that, but when we went to the appellate court 3 times, it'd just be the basics, because that's what the county tried to get, an itemized invoice so they could see legal strategy, so it's just the time allotted, and then it's very high level. We can definitely get that for you too.
Thank you.
Call for a motion for approval of the report.
Jerry, 53.
Tim Collins, second. Post 126.
Any further discussion? Sorry, I don't know if we already did that. That's where. Hearing none. Motion passed.
Give me Larry another 1299, you should call for a vote before you say what.
Call for a vote. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No. One vote. I'm gonna get it. I'm still recovering. For those of you guys who don't know. All right.
But I don't want to run the meeting.
This will look good.
Moving on, information and activity deemed of interest since the last membership meeting. The DAV Transportation Network was supposed to be relaunched September 5th. I think they heard this morning that it's been pushed off to a date to be determined, I think, late October. Administrative assistants Michelle Henline and Brett Sandboss passed the NACBSO accreditation exam. And then the BACMC budget, like I said, that process is in the works. And then we hired 2 new administrative assistants to backfill the positions from Michelle and Brett passing the exam and possibly moving over to BBSOs. One veteran and one spouse, Alexis Hoops and Kimberly Hosey. So if you come in, welcome them to the office.
You gonna run out of open space here shortly?
Well, no, that's why we built out here the last, 5 years during COVID. So we are. So those goals were 2020 goals to bring everybody over where we're at now. So we have the most employees that we ever had in the history of the VAC, and we are 1 year ahead because the 2 people that I just hired and one additional one that will be brought on here shortly. Those goals were laid out, like I said, in 2019 and 2020 fiscal year. And then the build out occurred. Those of you guys who've been in our office since the remodel. And then we were on track last year in 2023 that those 2 positions to be filled were supposed to be filled in 2024. So we are a year ahead of schedule of bringing all those people on. So for 2024, we've already met our staffing goals. Now the difficult part, and where I ask you guys to bear with us, and if you've been coming to our outreach, is that it takes time for these people to be trained. So be patient. But for those of you guys who know BSO Devin Daniels, we were able to hire, train, and transition him within, I think, less than 90 days. So for those of you guys who've been in our office and worked with him, it's kind of the same process that we did with Michelle and Brett. And them, and we transitioned them within 30 days. So, and the only thing we had to do was wait for them to go take the training and pass the test. So, then I want to call you guys' attention. This wasn't on the agenda, but you will have you have a copy of it. Some of you guys, many of you guys actually reached out to me and brought this to my attention, but it was a letter that was addressed to the Post. That's the second page of this packet, from the Office of the Attorney General, the Military Veterans Rights Bureau, asking for some information to be provided from you guys as being delegates and alternates. And this is one of the reasons why we retained an attorney, and this is why Burkhart represents the VAC. And then by, in turn, him representing the VAC, you guys are also his clients for when something like this comes up, that you guys may get a letter, or some other legal entity or other entity may reach out to you directly, and you guys don't know how to respond. So this is another reason why we have legal fees. Responding to some of this stuff. So, I received a letter. Like I said, I'm not interpreting what the AG's letter meant or anything of that. That's legal. That's drawing a legal conclusion. And then I draw you to Burkhart's response once I was notified. I did not receive any official communication directly as the superintendent or the executive officer of the VAC. So I was provided this letter by the Post, some of the Post, and some of you as delegates and alternates by reaching out to me. And then I draw your attention to Burkhart's response, which is the first page, to the Attorney General on the VAC's behalf and on you guys' behalf. And I think Mr. Burkhart also emailed out this to everybody that we had email addresses to, and also those people that did not get an email, those people that did not receive an email, he attempted to mail a hard copy letter, and that transmittal, I believe, is on the back half.
Yeah, I didn't receive either one of these.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, either didn't have an updated email or he was the one who emailed it out, so he would have got the bounce back, but that's why I'm providing it now, so you guys know our response. If some of you guys got the letter, some of you guys may have.
I didn't get a letter from Attorney General either, so.
So there was a handful of posts. I don't know if everybody did. We just assumed that everybody did versus, calling you guys, but we had maybe 2 or 3 posts receive a letter.
We got it.
Okay. So that's the response. He sent it back up to the AG's office, and then now they'll respond if they have additional information. I think his letter clearly spelled out, that we will reply to anything that is requested. I brought this here tonight just because we knew that we didn't know how many people may have got this. We just wanted to bring it to your attention, but this is another example of requiring legal expenses. So, but I just wanted to bring this to you, and I would call for a motion to at least get this entered into the VAC minutes and record, as you guys having been advised of this and aware of it. And
Will we be advised of what the situation is and
Yep.
everything that's permission?
yes, when we've had lawsuits in the past, we've all been apprised, and we had any legal matters, everything's disclosed that needs to be transparent. But
I'll make a motion to put this in our minutes.
Jackson 5691, a question on the motion in 2 statements. I called your office 3 times, Brad, and let them know that we received it. It was certified to the delegate, skipper, and the alternate me. And because I think we should all look at the letter the attorney sent, because the kind of the way you paraphrased it might infer that we had something to be responsible to respond, and we didn't. I called the attorney. He was pretty straightforward. I asked him if someone made allegations, and he said nothing like that. He said just what the letter says, that they wanted some of our policy, current policies and procedures. I told them, I said, I'm sure that Brad and his people would be more than glad to provide that. So I badly would like to see what our attorney did. None of us hired or were involved in that process. They can call it. I'm all right with that. But I'd like to see that letter before we go any further on the motion to put this in the record or anything else. Would you mind, could we get some quick copies of that, Brad?
The letter?
Yes, the letter of the attorney.
Yeah, you should have it.
Okay. I'm looking for that.
Oh,
It should, it's still in the front.
it's right there.
Sorry,
I gave it to
Ted.
you, Ted. You should have it.
He probably.
If not, we got another packet down here.
You can have that. It's an email. I've got another copy of that one in the front. There you go.
So there was a motion on the floor, Ted, while Ted used that. I think I heard somebody else say a second or not.
I'll second the motion. Ron Cudini, Post 113, American Legion.
Second.
Ron?
That's the letter from Williams.
Can you repeat exactly what the motion is?
To just enter, after you guys, we discuss it, just to get this entered into the VAC minutes and the record. Any discussion?
Brad, I read it. He responded, and I would have, the suppositions that they didn't have anything in this, like a fishing expedition. Thank you, I'm glad I read that, and I'm.
No, you're good. Keep
There
it.
you go, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on, unfinished business. So, last meeting, for those of you guys who were here, we were reviewing the bylaws, the new set of bylaws. They're not amended, so they've been out there now since maybe a couple weeks before the June meeting. That was mailed out before last quarter's meeting. And then we came in to last quarter's meeting and we reviewed the bylaws. We went down a one-page summary that was produced by the attorney and over his analysis of the Military Veterans Assistance Act amendments and trailer bill, amendment and trailer bill that happened in 2022 and 2023, respectively. And then the bylaws were drafted based off of the original amendment and then the trailer bill. And then these bylaws were presented and reviewed and discussed last meeting. And then after that, or as we went point by point, I made notes, and we if you guys were here, Mr. Furcart got on the phone with us, and we went down and asked him to weigh in on any of those points, discussion that maybe required his assistance or analysis or opinion. And then there were a couple motions. You guys may have read the meeting minutes from June where it laid out all of the points that had no discussion or discussions related to them in conjunction with either the Military Veterans Assistance Act or the bylaws. And then I went back and drafted the changes or the revised, and everywhere a discussion occurred or a point was that we took specific action on in the form of a motion. There was only, I think, one at that time, and the rest of them were reflected and changed as a result of just us going through and were recorded in the minutes, which you guys just approved. And then I went back and then I added back in, based off of that one-page summary, you guys' discussion points, and then you guys tabling it last meeting to have another 90 days or 3 months in order to review them for any more questions. And then I I think I only had one person contact me, or two people contact me in between last quarter and this quarter, and that was, one was, I believe Don Shire asked me about maybe seeing, and we also, because we were going through the process of needing to move the quarterly meeting and the annual meeting dates as a result of them adding the Juneteenth holiday. So that was one of the things that wasn't discussed last time. That's in here now. But it's kind of difficult. We're not going to hammer them out, but I think there was maybe one other point, but it is recorded or documented in these, and I'm going to go down through those changes right now with you guys. And then you guys will have a chance to discuss and then make a decision. So, any questions over that, the way the stuff unfolded last time? So if you were not here last time, you might not be able to connect all the dots until you maybe read the minutes, read the one-page summary and all that stuff that was provided last week. Page 1, like I said, you will see the areas that we're going to discuss highlighted and bold. So on page 1, there was no discussion. Page 2. Now the pages may have changed if you're looking at last month's thing because I added these text. So I'm looking at section 5, regular meeting memberships. This is what I was just talking about with Don. It doesn't have to be worked out this quarter because I'm just letting you guys know. And then we can make a decision on whether we specifically put, like, you know, on third Thursdays, etc. And I have the meeting dates. We had CJ and I sat down and we reviewed the 2024 holiday schedule. And we reviewed the suggestions, like I said, last fiscal year, and then also, again, at the executive board meeting. And the second Thursdays of the months of March, June, September, December, as a result of the Juneteenth holiday, as well as other holidays, Representative Don Shire inquired about continuing discussion of meeting dates with the understanding that it's impossible to select a date that is accommodating to all. So we're recommending moving it up one Thursday in the month for the quarterlies and the annual. Like I said, this can all be hammered out again at the annual meeting. Right now it's on the third Thursday, so. Any questions or discussion about just that specific point? I know if we move it, you know, it's going to conflict and it starts rubbing up against other holidays and stuff, so. All right. So we'll look at presenting that back to you guys at the annual meeting when we produce or approve the next calendar years anyway, so. Page 3.
Hey, Brad.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tim Connell, post 126.
Tim Connell, post 126.
On that, so if it comes on a holiday, it says that it'd be on the next succeeding business day. So if our meeting's on a holiday, that means we wouldn't have our meeting on that holiday, it'd be on a Friday.
No, it's going to be on the second Thursday.
Okay, but above that it says, if the day fixed for any membership meeting shall be on a legal holiday, such meeting shall be held on the next succeeding business day, which would mean Friday. But I mean, so we might want to look at,
So, I mean, we can leave it like it was worded before, where it was just the third Thursday, and then,
maybe just change it to have the following Thursday.
Well, we're going to move it to the second Thursday.
Well, that's fine. I mean, we just don't want to, you're not going to have, you might not have as much membership showing show up on a Friday as
Yeah.
you would a Thursday.
So we can reword that, and then, like I said, we'll propose, we got the calendar and everything.
Okay.
So we can look at it, but yeah, I'll strike that out, or not strike it out, but just highlight it for review again, okay? Section 6, item B, discretionary. Down at the very bottom in parentheses, you will see what the representative at the last meeting may have discussed or brought up as needing either clarification, review, or discussion. And then we added in accordance with paragraph 2.02, 2.03 of the Open Meetings Act. And then down below is what was recommended and then what our attorney at last month's meeting replied as far as what the time frames were. And at that time, he said it did not need to be specifically spelled out. It could reasonably be included if desired, but it would just be repetitive. So that's up to you guys if you want to put specifically in there the 60 or the 5 days and the 60 days, or you just want to be able to refer back to whatever the Open Meetings Act says as far as the time frame, which is 5 days and 60 days. So once again, it's just a matter of if you want to put that specific wording in there, or would it be just deemed repetitive? Any discussion?
There's another 1299. In other places in the Constitution, it specifies an article and so forth of some the act or whatever, and then it spells it out in the document. Here you're just referencing section 2.02 and 2.03 of the Open Meetings Act. So now if I want to know what those say, I got to look at the Open Meeting Act. So in some cases, you're consistent where you say, this is the section, and then you spell it out and what it says. This isn't spelling it out, it's causing me now to have to stop and go look at other documents.
Yes.
We need to have some consistency one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of other areas where it points to different acts and different laws and different statutes, but this is what was brought up last time, believed by you, so I mean, I have no problem with it being in there. I mean, it's just that sentence that's in parentheses, not less than 5 days prior, no more than a maximum of 60 days. If you want to
those sections, then my opinion is to replace them.
What do you guys want to do? Put it in the bylaws on that specific wording?
Just leave it in.
Put it in? All right. So, call for a motion to leave that in.
Call for that motion.
Mark Nelson,
Nelson, attachment 11C.
second.
Make the motion.
Mark Nelson.
Second.
Terry, 53. Terry Shepherd, I'm sorry.
Any discussion to keep that?
Mr. Superintendent, Jackson, 5691, Representative. I want to make sure I understand the motion. Are we asking to put all of the verbiage that's from the state law that it's referenced in there? Is that what's being asked in this motion?
No,
Good.
we're just going to put in what's in parentheses or quotation marks down at the very bottom. Specifically spell it out. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of including that, keeping it in, or including that specific language?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next section, section 8. Again, in parentheses, down at the bottom, what was brought up. And it was brought up or asked to strike the remote attendance section, as Representative Miller believed it was contradictory since it was later mentioned in the bylaws that remote attendance is allowed executive it was advised that remote attendance is allowed at executive board meetings, as they are, executive board meetings are the ones that meet in between these meetings and the annual. And they are advisory only. So even if nobody showed up, or if everybody showed up and they voted, it doesn't, it's an advisory vote. It's the vote that happens at this meeting that is an official vote. And he felt that it should not be removed based on, future pandemics. It was also advised that this was discussed, there was a lot more discussion, but it was also advised that should future pandemics happen or a need arise, BACFC would follow appropriate government executive orders as everyone did during the pandemic. That's just another thing. And then once again, on all of these points, the attorney was consulted. So there's no remote attendance or proxy voting at this meeting. This is not what that is. At that time, there was no changes or anything that was discussed. Section 9. They're added in and special meetings. Above is the request of Representative Larry Miller inquiring about the clarification of meetings, notices, and timelines. This goes back to earlier about including the five days. You can see in that area, that's what he was, I assume, another area that included specific reference to the dates, time frame. It's only adding in the bold, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sentence down, just those 3 words, and special meetings. What are you guys' thoughts on keeping it in or pulling that out?
Keep it in.
All right, anybody motion, call for a motion? I'll make
So moved.
Leave them in.
I'll make a motion. Kim Rouse. This is added. Who made the second? Sorry.
Cole. Yep, Dave Cole, post 435.
Dave Cole. 435. Moving on. So, this one's going to start on page 5, directors. This was continued on page 6. Representative Larry Miller inquired about striking individual names from bylaws. It was determined that such a box containing individuals' names is not needed in the bylaws other than establishing dates of reference. There was other discussion that went around this. It doesn't really need to be in there, but we spent a lot of legal fees and a lot of time researching dates, researching these such dates in the past. And we had to go back all the way till, I think, when I started in 2009 and search, well, along with the attorney, to go back through and make sure that everybody that was seated as officers and directors were appropriately seated and that their terms were correct. And after him doing all of that extensive research, it was determined that everybody was properly seated and their terms were fixed accordingly. So it was his call to leave that in there at the end of last meeting. He was consulted again, and then it was, the only reason we put it in there is so we had if we ever needed to refer back to it, when we had this legally done, was to include that in there. His interpretation was we didn't need to include it. It's up to you guys.
Brad, I got out, but I had an attorney go over all these pro bono and I've got a guy from our county and stuff, but on number 11, I missed on quorum, just a point of order that we don't say what the number is. Somewhere in there, it should say the quorum for this commission is, and then the number should take, how
You're talking on section 3.
on 11, I'm on.
Are you?
Section 11, yeah.
Yeah, section,
That's on page 4.
section 3 is deals with quorum.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm using the old one. I'm just the one on the form, it doesn't say anything about what the number is, I'm simply suggesting that.
So it'd be 50% plus 1.
It needs to say that, it needs to say the elected officials,
Okay,
that just would help me a little bit.
Hold on, that's a new discussion point from last month. So hold on, let's deal with this one that's on the,
Sorry.
I have a question on the names. Ron Houdini, American Legion 113. Anytime that changes, wouldn't the group have to vote on that change to the bylaws? Just a question, I really don't understand.
yeah, I mean, this was discussed. It's just a snapshot of the moment in time of this new bylaws. It's not needed in there. We have referred to in other documents, and it is on the official record as being reviewed in this manner as of, I believe it was annual meeting last year.
Now, would it be a good idea to maybe at the annual meeting to give out a list of all these officers and then you can strike them out?
Every annual meeting to include next December is when the nominations and seating of the officers are ready.
Okay, thank you.
So, a motion, call for a motion
to remove
David Coble, post
435.
David Coble, 435.
To do what?
Hold on.
To remove.
Remove it out. Second on that, to remove it out?
I still have discussion.
Hold on.
Steve Kaiser, 2222. Second.
All right, so go ahead, sorry, Steve.
Okay, Tim Connell, post 126. So, we're talking about some things being removed, some things being added, so we don't have to look at other documents. Okay, so now we're going to remove something, then now I have to go look at another document to find the answer. So,
They're both pros and cons.
right, so it's our bylaws.
The problem is, if you leave it in when these people expire, their terms expire, you would have to rewrite the bylaws to change
You'd have to
that.
print one page out.
No, we wouldn't be, this is just establishing the record of when, so moving forward, we have an accurate list of who, at the time of this bylaw being passed, we know if we need to go back and recorrect the record somehow, we have it. It doesn't mean that every time.
Yeah, you don't have to rewrite the whole entire bylaw.
Right, there is a confusion.
Yeah, you're not rewriting the whole entire bylaw, you're just going to change the name on the president, vice president, and second vice president. You're not going to rewrite the whole bylaw.
Which does not require a vote.
Which doesn't require, I mean, the vote will be required for the person, but you're not rewriting the whole bylaw. You're just rewriting the name that the person who's elected.
But you're going to have to change the bylaws to put it in the bylaws.
Well, it's not changing the actual bylaws. This is just a record of who was there at the time that we passed the bylaw.
Kind of is, when you have a bylaw, it needs to be voted on anytime there is a change made to a bylaw.
But we're not changing the bylaw. These are the people who were in charge at the time the bylaws were passed.
When you change a name, you're changing the bylaws.
Exactly.
When you change one word, you're changing the bylaws.
If you altered this to say that this is simply a record of those people, Steve Kaiser, 22.
Use the microphone, Steve.
Steve Kaiser, 2222. If you changed it to say this is simply a record, the below list is a record of those at this point in time, then it wouldn't have to be altered. But if you leave it in there, every time you change somebody's elected post, you would have to change that portion of the bylaws.
Which technically requires a vote.
Right.
That's 5691. We simply, when the election, add one sentence that says, the current elected officers each year will be posted in there. That's in the bylaws.
There you go.
That's simple. Mike.
That's simple.
All right, what was that again?
Each year, the election results are final. The elected officers for that year will be posted in the bylaws. That's it. Put one sentence in.
Well, it would be
Or
posted.
change that to any election.
It would actually be posted and reflected in the minutes of that annual meeting.
That gives you proceed. Boom. Thank you. And say all elections. Don't just make it the annual one. Say all elections that cover special and everything.
So each year after the annual meeting and the elections for nominations and elections. The
Current
record,
officers, record will reflect current officers.
yes, the record
Sure.
minutes will reflect
Love you like a hog love bud.
current.
Beautiful.
I'll tell you what, that's a lot of love, buddy.
Or officers and directors.
Get him saber.
Larry Miller, 1299, delegate for 1299. So the motion is to take the names out of these bylaws, Mr. President?
No, keep them in,
Nope.
and then add that sentence.
The original motion was to take them out and second it, so we'd have to have that motion rescinded.
That's what I'm getting ready to do, is rescind the motion.
Okay,
So the motion would be to keep the box with the names in, and then add a statement each year after the nominations and election of officers and directors at the annual meeting will be affixed according to the minutes of that annual meeting. Get that change added.
okay. So it's going to say, the elected officers will be reflected in the minutes. Okay.
Was a motion made for that?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
All right.
Steve Kaiser, 2222. Second.
We had discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who made the actual motion?
Mr. Gold.
Steve? Oh, you did. Copel?
Yep, C-O-B-B-E-L.
Motion carried.
Got it.
Dennis Taylor, 564, voted opposed.
Okay. We're not doing a roll call, so the motion carried. Section 4, manner of acting. Same thing. This was brought up by Representative Larry Miller, required by adding language Robert Rules of Order applies and is recognized to guide the smooth, orderly, and fairly conducted meetings. That would be added. Call for a motion to add that.
I'll make a motion.
1299, move to add that.
Larry Miller.
Second, Ron Houdini.
Ron, who? Oh, Ron.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Page 7, none. Page 8, section 2. You guys can read there too. I'll just read it. Representative Larry Miller questioned how a post delegate, if removed as a delegate, can stay on as a board, stay on the board as an officer. VAC attorney Thomas Burkhardt was consulted again just and reiterated the facts of the above paragraph. Representative Brad Yount asked for a point of reference, asking if there was somewhere in the current bylaws that would set the matter to rest. He stated that Burkhardt's answers seemed to be a matter of opinion. Burkhardt advised that it is similar to the United States representative form of government or organizational structure from the NBA. Additional examples of this being carried out were provided. He also advised that the answer is provided in Article 3, Section 2, number, tenure, and qualifications of directors on page 5. Officers are elected by the entire membership, whereas the post delegates and alternates are elected by the post or single post. Representatives of the VAMC board are properly seated representatives. That kind of goes back to the box that everybody that is an officer and director at this time and post delegates and alternates are properly seated according to the Military Veterans Assistance Act. So there's no change or anything. There won't be, unless it changes. I might make some other.
Brad, again, Jackson 5691, I didn't get to, I missed that, I was on the reunion last time, but that was one the attorney lit up pretty good. I think it's written wrong completely. The whole purpose of the act prior to the Veterans Commission, the Veterans Commission and how it's run and everything we do. It was written to totally, completely empower the commission to do most everything. I think it's one minute fast. Most of my stuff that he went over with me, a lot of this is written completely not in compliance with that. This is one of them that if we say a person has to be a member of the commission to serve on, a delegate to serve on the board, which is purely advisory. That part is right, where we admit that the board is strictly advisory, and unless they're a delegate on that board, that they can't even vote on things like we said Earl and I can't do. But the point being well taken, because it'll go to the second part, we'll get back around to that, because the directors, we don't need all those directors and secretaries and stuff. None of that's required. I mean, there's the ones by law, we got to have the ones for the registration. And so, because I'd love to get these on, I think if the fellas got a good look at them, and the ladies, they'd be, yeah, this is what we need to make all this safe. So that's one there. It should be, we require them to be a delegate, and I'll use the attorney's words, that, yep, if you go to the old Constitution and about law and you kind of go to them, it's like one-year terms. The reason the board seats need to all be one-year terms is because they got to be elected by their organization to be delegates so they can serve on that. That takes care of all that, and that removes all the legal questioning and everything. So what we should really be saying is that all board positions are 1 year, and that they have to be delegates elected by their organization. You do that, you're going to get rid of about 9 pages.
They are currently delegates.
Okay, right, they have to be currently delegates to serve on that.
And moving forward, they will be currently delegates.
Okay, well, how can we speak on behalf of the organization? We're voting every year for our delegate and our alternate, and so we say, no, and he's got a 3-year term, and he's like, well, the problem is, you ain't getting elected, you're not going to be on that board. So now you're saying that you'll have to have a vote for that every year, which I'm fine with. It's instead of a 2-year congressional vote where you vote on people every 2 years, we really are doing ours one. That keeps these veterans organizations actively involved, and it's open and transparent. And I'm just sharing that with you, but my guy said that that's easily attainable under all these things. And I'm sorry that I was on family vacation, but because I would have pointed out many of those things. And this is one of them. All for the delegate serving on the board. Again, it's advisory, has no authority other than to vote as a delegate. And that's on the commission. The authority for the entire thing, except for you running the show, is with the commission. That's where it is. And so I think that should say that. That's one of them right there, that they all be 1-year terms, whether it's all those secretary jobs or delegate or directors, they need to be 1-year jobs, because you can't say in the future they're going to have it. You'll concede that point, right?
This is you guys'.
Well, no, the law says they have to be
No, I
voted
know,
by
but
the organization annually.
this is you guys' discussion,
Okay.
not my discussion or opinion or. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, keep it the way it is. Section 6. The bottom of page 8, like I said, you have to refer to number, or page 9 at the bottom of what was discussed or added. This was to add the word shall consist, and then, or shall, and then at a minimum or at least to that section. And then Representative Dennis Pollard recommended adding language at a minimum or at least as per above. Representative Larry Miller felt the bylaws, and by using the word shall, that we were directing exactly what the evaluation must say from the president by including such language in the bylaws. Discussion ensued over the language surrounding the annual evaluation requirement of superintendent. It was decided to add in the language at a minimum or at least to article, that article, president of 2023 VAC bylaws. Call for a motion to keep, or add that in.
Third one, call 99, move so moved.
You're making a motion.
No, I was going to have a question on
No,
that.
Larry made a motion. Second. To add those words. a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ted?
Yeah, Brad, Jackson 5691. On this one, because I don't have the one with the things, and that's okay, I'm catching up. Are we talking about now here where the person of the advisory commission is the sole person who evaluates your performance for the year? That's the paragraph or section we're talking about?
Yeah, whoever the president.
Okay, so, because I want to make sure that I understand it, I'll say it kind of. It's not an evaluation when an advisory person, one person, can't possibly speak on behalf of the commission. The performance for the superintendent has to be the entire commission. And there needs to be good definitive things drawn out, what we expect of you, what needs to be done. One advisory person can't possibly speak on behalf of the commission. And
Well, that's why he's elected by us.
he's elected by his unit, and again, the lawyer correctly put, it's advisory. So my statement is simply this. They're perfectly fine. Your job needs to be reviewed, is all. Same one, everyone where we're voted back every year in our organization to be representatives. So to even infer, and I know we've done this is one that needs to be fixed. This is something as we try and get more transparent and better for you, the superintendent, that this is really what's expected, to look out for the veterans of this county and everything. That needs to be changed to be the members of the commission vote in just a majority manner, and that there's clearly defined rules and things that you have to do.
Yeah, I think this was heavily discussed, and that's why they added in at least a minimum of it.
A minimum of what? Of 5
That's why they put it in at least a minimum. You know,
Oh, so we can be more. We can say more.
So that doesn't mean, Ronnie, you can talk to Ronnie, and him and I we talk probably a couple times a week, right? And then there's multiple of you at the different posts who may call Ronnie, and if there's a problem, just like we had back in July and August, it kicked off a lot of this legal stuff. But if you guys have been here for the last year, and you guys have clearly communicated to Ronnie Hicks about my performance, so it's not saying that I'm not being evaluated throughout the year. There's different things that are happening throughout the year. Are we passing a budget? Are we agreeing on a budget? Are we holding meetings? Am I sitting up here and allowing discussion? Am I administering the office properly? Am I treating the staff? All of that. And if there's anything that comes up during the year, Ronnie would be the one that everybody would go to filter those complaints against me, and then that's addressed later, Ted, with the removal of a superintendent. No, I know, but that would be, if I'm doing a bad job, you guys don't have to wait to evaluate me or get me out of office, or any future superintendent. So I think and then we also talked, Ronnie and I talked in the background, the statute doesn't lay out what that looks like. And if we layer on, we all come from a military background where you have counselings and all that stuff, and that is being done throughout the year, every year, and it always has been.
You brought up two different things, Brad. I'm talking about it is utterly preposterous that we have one person speaks on behalf of the committee. Please let me finish. Because you talked about the removal. Yeah, we'll get to that. That's fine, how we remove it. Takes a majority thing, or maybe 2/3 in fact. So, yeah, that's covered, but I'm not talking about that. What I'm trying to share and consider, everyone needs and we do review. We see your things, we see the things we do. I'm called Ronnie, I don't even know who Ronnie is. But the point I'm trying to make is, your review, your annual performance review, they need to put bonuses in. Because if we do the job and take care of the widows and children and the veterans, we're doing it right. But for one advisory person to say, this is what we're going to say, it's not even reflective of anything. That's all I'm trying to share. We can do better. I'm sorry. We can do way better.
So any other discussion on that? I was trying to fill you back in, Ted, of what some of the discussion that happened last time,
Ron Chiodini, Post 113, I agree with someone, I don't know who it was behind me, but said that Ronnie is a representative that we voted for, so therefore we should be able to go to him if we have an issue, about your evaluation. So I think it should be, why should you have 100 bosses evaluate you when only one should be? I don't have but one boss at work who evaluate me. My whole department doesn't evaluate me. And I think it should be that way here. One person, if we have any issues, then we go to you or Ronnie and discuss them. And then, you guys can work it out from there.
Tim Collins, Post 126. I would just look at it as any form of government. Okay, you have a city, you have, we'll say, 6 aldermen and a mayor. A district hired, they elect their alderman. That alderman is the voice for them. So, and then you have the mayor. Ronnie's our alderman, basically. For our, so to speak. He's our mayor for Brad. He writes Brad's review. He speaks for us. I mean, that's it. We hired Ronnie, and I've never been in an organization where, when I was in charge of the platoon, the whole platoon wrote my review. I had one boss that wrote my review.
Larry Miller, 1299. The purpose of the change here is what's in bold, at a minimum or at least one line. Originally it said such evaluation shall consist of one line as follows. And I think the point was being made that we should allow the person making the evaluation to be able to add to that. Bylaws are saying that it will be this one line period. So what this change is to say is that that line will be included, but there may be more lines in there.
Anybody else?
Dennis Taylor, I'm sorry. Dennis Taylor, 564. I just, I don't think it is one person though, because we have an executive board, and it's their function to do the evaluation. So, it's just between them, how they decide to do it.
Anything else? Call for a motion to add that wording in at a minimum or
I
at
believe
least.
I made the motion earlier.
Oh, did we? Sorry. All in favor of adding it in?
Dennis Taylor, second it.
We already had a second.
We had first and second.
There's a discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Page 10, no. Page 11, election term of office. Representative Larry Miller inquired about striking individual names from the bylaws. This is kind of a rehash from earlier about the box. It was determined that individual names were not needed in the bylaws, other than establishing a date of reference. So it's the same thing, it's just saying that the passage of this new bylaw that I was the superintendent, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't mean that the bylaws need to be changed annually. Any question about keeping that specifically in there or not? Leave it. Move on. My motion, call for a motion. Terry.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Second.
Second. I see one out there. I'll second it. Ken Morales. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carried.
So leave it in.
Page 12, section 5, removal. This was another area 10, but try to backfill you in. This was heavily discussed last time. And it was decided this was done by a roll call vote. This was one of the only matters that was done by a roll call vote to add in that specific language. So this has already been resolved. It was adding in a written request from 3 different and separate VSOs, i.e. one VFW, one American, or one DAV, and one American Legion shall be required. on, page 13. Article or amendments. Representative Larry Miller recommend adding in specific notification timeframes and pointing out to where the law notification timeframes is referenced. Representatives, sorry, full name there, Skip asked if it would be better clarified as it specifically pertains to new sets of bylaws versus amended sets of bylaws. EAC attorney Thomas Burkhart provided legal guidance as to the difference between amending bylaws and passing a new set of bylaws as the VAC MC is doing. So there was discussion about the different time frames of the time needed to be in circulation of 3 months. You know, if you were amending, they had to be circulated 3 months prior and all of that, since these were a new set of bylaws based off of the legislative amendments. Those timeframes were all up to you guys. So, it's just kind of advising you guys on that. If you want to put in that specific time frame, we already know that this is a new set of bylaws and they've been out there for this specific set of bylaws. These have been out there for 2 quarters now. Over 2 quarters. So, I think the question was just adding in there, do we add in that for old, or for a amended set of bylaws, it's 90 days, there's language out there for that, or do we just not leave it in there, and then if there's an amendment, we all know where to go.
Excuse me, Steve Kaiser, 2222. In section 5, the removal, it says a written request from 3 different and separate VSOs, i.e. 1 VFW, 1 DAV, and 1 American Legion. Does that exclude the Marine Corps League?
No, that was just giving you an example of.
I.e. means as that is.
It means example.
Yeah, it means
It
example.
actually means that is to say.
That excludes the Marine Corps League from doing
No,
that?
it wouldn't be, we could put them in there in that chain as well.
Change it from IE to, you know, for example, you know.
As an example of something or other.
Brad, include all of them, like we did on the one where everybody went bananas and add all the organizations that have standing here.
Doesn't need
All
to be
the-
that.
all the
It's
different
separate
No, don't exclude anybody. Don't exclude
This is
anybody.
for example.
We don't need example. Put all the organizations in there. We don't need example. That covers everybody.
Okay, cool.
Can't be any simpler than that.
Great, love it.
All right. Sorry. 13. Do we want to list the specific dates? Again, do we want to specifically list the specific timeframes of when an amended set of bylaws has to be distributed 90 days prior to them being reviewed and discussed and brought up versus a new set of bylaws that can be brought up? I don't know if they're all in there, but yeah, there's guidelines on when you can amend and the notification period for each of either amended or if they're a new set. Silence means leave it the way it is. Well, if they're amended, then it's distributed, I think, 90 days. Oh, yeah, there's guidelines like that. Yep.
Yeah, Brett, I think when this came up before, we received the package and it was such a short time frame, and there was a lot of stuff to read and try to absorb. The only thing I was trying to say was, if we have some of this importance that's being sent out, we should have at least enough time to read it, and maybe share it with all of our comrades that are opposed, and then, try to come to some conclusion and bring it back to the meeting. That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, no, and that's what we did. You guys tabled it, and it sat out there for 3 months for review, and then 2 people, like I think it was 2, I think it was maybe Don Shire at the time. And then here we are, 6 months. Anything else on that?
Hey, Brett, one more thing real quick. I mean, are we looking for, if you want to send out something like this to all the delegates and alternates, should we have some type of time frame when it's being sent out so we can read it and kind of absorb it?
Yeah,
Because, I mean, we have this meeting every quarter, every 3 months. We could say every 60 days, send it out 60 days prior to the meeting.
so that's a good point. This got maybe help clarify. So if we pass these, like, any bylaws, right, tonight, and then somebody wants to amend them, then yes, it's got to go through that. Now it's a passed new set of bylaws. And then if somebody wants to amend them, then it's got to go through that 90-day cycle. And it's got to be out there for 90 days if it changes to the bylaws. Then you guys come back together, review those proposed changes, vote on them or table them, or discuss them, kick it down the road, or review or choose to amend. So yeah, once this new sets in, then yes, those amended laws or amended bylaws timeframe apply.
That sounds like a plan.
What was that?
That sounds like a plan.
Last page, nothing on there. So this is where we're at. We've had the new set distributed over 3 months ago. We went through the review last quarter. First part reviewed those reviews while in this meeting last quarter. Went back and made all the changes and revisions that was proposed. Brought those changes back tonight. We went point by point down through all of those questions, made all the discussions or the motions and the appropriate discussions, and then here we are at the end. So it's up to you guys to decide what you would like to do with the new set of bylaws.
Dennis Baylor, 564 again. Before I vote on these, I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
No, the determination was made that we needed to rewrite the bylaws instead of amending these old ones we had, which has a nice preamble in it. I was just wondering, who made that determination?
The legislature. So
No,
what's
they did not. They did not.
Well,
Who made the determination that we needed to rewrite the bylaws?
Yep. So
Was it the,
sorry.
everybody? Was it everybody? Was it the lawyer? Or was it the executive?
So let me back up. Sorry, I thought you meant like what kicked off.
Right, I know what kicked it off.
Yeah. So sorry. Let me understand. The preamble and all of that stuff. I don't know if that was taken out for any specific purpose other than maybe it was just wordy or not. So it was the attorney who made the decision to remove all of that stuff out, probably for wordiness and conciseness. To keep
So the attorney made the decision that we needed to rewrite instead of amend. You're saying that the attorney made the decision that we needed to rewrite instead of amend the old
We
one.
could not amend it. Because once the legislature changed the law to a significant enough degree that it required a new set of bylaws. That answers your question. Any other questions?
Which act was that, Brad?
The Military Veterans Assistance Act.
I'm sorry, but I didn't see anything in the act when I read it that said we needed to make new bylaws. We needed to amend the bylaws.
Yeah, so, I mean, either way, even if we call it amended or new, it's still, we've still met both of the requirements of them being out there for distribution and review. So whether we call it new or amended, the same point where we're at now.
I just think this whole thing, this whole process is, we're making it way too complicated. I mean, it was a matter of going through the old ones and making a few changes that we needed to make instead of rewriting and getting into all the legal discussions. We're not here to have a legal discussion, we're here to take care of the veterans. And that's what we need to be focused on.
I agree.
That's all. That's what I'm going to say, and, that's all. So,
I mean,
thank you.
I can't override what the legislature wishes, the changes they wish to make. So. All right. So, call for a motion for the approval of the bylaws as everything we just laid out.
I'll make the motion, Terry Shepherd, 53 DAB. Accept these as read and with corrections and everything.
You said what?
Terry Shepherd.
I do
Call
that.
for a motion to accept the bylaws.
Has changed what we did tonight.
Second. Ron Swain, 199.
Ron Swain. Any discussion?
Brett, just a question on the vote. I'd like the delegates to stand and vote, so we're crystal clear that it's the delegates voting, nobody else.
We do a roll call vote versus making people stand?
Or as long as they know they're delegates, that's all I care.
So, roll call, motion. We want to amend the motion to make it a roll call vote?
As well,
Yeah,
make
I
me
think,
happy.
I think that would be appropriate.
And it's 2/3, right, Brett?
Yes. 2/3 of the members, delegates are all here. Representative gets one vote. Okay, one vote. American Legion 113, Ron Chiotti, sorry.
Hugh Deany. Or Smith, it doesn't
All
matter.
right.
Yes, I vote yes.
American Legion 120, American Legion 126, Tim Conlon.
Yes.
American Legion 199, Ron Swain.
Yes.
American Legion 214, Larry Meisenheimer.
Yes.
American Legion 307, alternate David Johnson.
Yes.
American Legion 354, Earl Watts.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. American Legion 435, David Cole.
Yes.
American Legion 439, Tim Rouse.
Yes.
American Legion 564, Dennis Pollard. No. American Legion 708, Brett Deeman.
Yes.
American Legion 1167, Richard Leidenberg.
Yes.
DAV 53, Terry Shepard.
Yes.
DAV 90, Ronnie Hicks. Yes. Marine Corps League 1160, Mark Nelson.
Yes.
VFW 1299, Larry Miller.
No.
VFW 2222, Vern LeClaire.
Yes.
VFW 5691, Lonzo Skipper.
Yes.
VFW 5694, Kate Brothers.
Yes.
We had 17 in favor and 2 opposed. Motion carried for the passage of the 2023 bylaws of the Madison County Veterans Assistance Commission. All right, new business. There was no other business. So call for representatives of the membership if they wish to be recognized for the purpose of any new matters they want the membership to address, issues pertaining to personal matters, religion, partisan politics, not to be tolerated. Anybody have any new business? Moving on.
Brad, I'm sorry, I have one thing. But if everybody needs to know, on 26 September next week, the VAC, the Veterans Administration, the federal branch, they're holding a big forum at the Council VFW. It's 10 to 2. They'll have lots of people there. And all your veterans are welcome. They can file claims. They can get 214. They're going to give flu shots, check up for screening for the people that have the Agent Orange and things like that. So it's a good time. We'll give you a nice speech. So if you have veterans or people who need that help, please send them our way. You should have a couple of guys there too.
Ted, what day is that?
It's on Tuesday the 20th, or it's the 26th of September.
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, 26th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Hope y'all can make it. Send your guys. Thanks, Brett.
And what time does it start?
10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
10 to 2?
Yep.
Anybody else? Hearing none, moving on, open meetings act, opportunity for public address. Any members that are not representative, or anybody that is not representatives would like to address the commission?
Good evening. I'm John Kraft, one of the Edgar County Watchdogs, life member of the VFW, member of the American Legion, member of the American Legion Riders. Somebody mentioned being a platoon sergeant when he was in the military, and I agree, but I also agree that when I was a platoon sergeant, my subordinates were not in charge of the platoon, like is what happening at this meeting, in the last meeting. Your subordinate is sitting up here in charge of you guys. You need to put a freaking stop to it. President should be running this meeting. Nobody else, unless he's gone, than the vice president. Somebody asked about obtaining the invoices for the attorneys. As public officers, which all of you sitting up here are, I presume, if you're a delegate or an alternate, you're a public officer. You are entitled to a complete invoice from the attorney. I agree. The county was not entitled to it when they were in the middle of the lawsuit with the VAC. No, they don't get that information. But as delegates and alternates, you're entitled to a complete invoice of everything, including the attorney. Complete means complete, not redacted. And if you look at Article 6, Section 2 of what you just approved under warrants, no such warrant may be issued for the payment of commission funds without the presentation of an itemized statement or claim approved by the superintendent and reported to the full commission. You don't just get to see the bill. You get to see the itemized statement or claim, which means the entire invoice from the attorney, not a high-level overview. You guys have a fiduciary duty. And finally, I wish I could stay here and come and say good things about everything. But you guys have been doing good things. One other thing you need to consider is bylaws. It don't matter how many times you approve bylaws, unanimously or 3/4, 5/6, whatever. The bylaws have to comply with state law. Bylaws cannot violate state law. You have terms of office of 1 year for delegates and alternates. You can't vote for president, vice president, secretary, have been 4 years. It doesn't work that way. Each year is a new board. Each year, new officers get voted in. There's court cases that point to that. One of them is Milliken versus Edgar County from decades, maybe over 100 years ago. They were a board at one time that was voted in annually, and they tried to bind the hands of the new board by appointing somebody to an employment position. And the court said, no, you can't do that. You're binding the hands of future boards. You don't have that authority. And termination, and I spoke about this the last time, termination of the superintendent. It takes 3 VSOs, according to the Military Veterans Assistance Act, 3 veteran service organizations.
Do you want to start wrapping it up?
That means 3 American Legions, 2 Legions in the VFW, 3 Marine Corps Leagues, not 3 separate and distinct types.
You're concerned about what's going on in this community.
Ron, let him do his public comment.
Are we timing?
He's almost finished.
Yeah, we are.
It's
He's
not,
about to start
If anybody
wrapping
else
up.
would like to make a comment, Ron, you can come up.
it is not hard to comply with state law. 3 VSOs. Read the definition of a VSO in the MVAA. It's not 3 separate distinct ones. Your bylaws have to comply with state law, and what you approve does not in several instances.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come down and make a public comment?
Can I make it from here, Mr. Superintendent? I'd like to make a motion that Jackson 56-9, that we allow no one to speak, they can set in view that is not a resident of Madison County taxpayer, that does not have a business paying taxes through it, is not involved with the work of this commission under any way. They can set in here, but they have no standing to speak and no standing to take any time of this, and my attorney shared that. So I make a motion that we don't let people that are not residents of Madison County, taxpayers of Madison County, business owners paying property taxes in Madison County. If you do not have that standing and you're not elected to be in here, that you can observe, and that's all. They cannot speak. That's my motion.
No offense, I would have to gavel that motion out of order. I think anybody could come in and make a public comment at any of our meetings. I get it.
They have any standing, Brad. They don't have a right. They can listen. They can observe. That's all.
Brad, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to speak.
Oh, go ahead, Don, I'm sorry.
Yep, if I may. Sure. Yep. In full disclosure, my name's Dave Noble. I am an at-will employee. I am a temporary employee because I retired, came back out of retirement because the team of Madison County VACs and these great men and women that are before me do such a phenomenal job at taking care of veterans. That's what we're here for, to take care of veterans. I came out of retirement to help. Hopefully I'll be able to go back into retirement. I shake because my Uncle Sam in Camp Lejeune and also over in Iraq, he blessed me with some stuff that wasn't supposed to be there, okay? And so I get a little anxious and I shake. So, having said that, I am also the commander of Glen Carbon Post 2222, all right? And I've been in a place where I've been able to observe for 20 years, Ronnie Hicks right there. 20 years, I buried half of his family as a chaplain. Over 10 years here with Brad. Many of you folks here over the last 7 or 8 years worked with you. I've seen your integrity. I've seen how you stood up for veterans, how you didn't put up with any crap. Now, there were some other employees, at-will employees, that got fired. We're all at-will employees in Madison County Veterans Assistance Commission. We had, and we were witness to, an attempted hostile, and this is me speaking, hostile takeover of Madison County Veterans Assistance Commission. It was a hostile takeover by one of our posts. They're not here tonight. They're not represented. Okay? When we had our superintendent went through a PTSD episode, the county locked him out. The state's attorney locked him out for 2 years. We didn't see the Attorney General stepping in for veteran rights. We didn't see them stepping in for the Veterans with Disabilities Act. We didn't see them. In fact, the state's attorney was complicit in keeping them out. The men and women of this place went to court and won the fact that this man could come back and go to work. The whole time he was out, he stayed working for the veterans of Madison County. In this last year of all the nonsense going out, he has continued to work. And our numbers, I put them against any other number in the state, that we're the premier VAC. Now that's just me from the commander side. A few years back, Madison County decided they're going to steal $1.7 million from the veterans and the citizens of Madison County. And they did it because the state's attorney said, you got the right to do that. Attorney General didn't come in and say, oh no, you can't do that. We didn't have the yahoos from the Edgar County Watchdog Association come down and stand up for our veterans. It was the men and women of this commission that stood up and said, oh no. And we went to court. And we stood side by side and locked arms. And we went to court. We won a few, lost a few, but in the appeal, the court said, we win. You wonder why we don't want to play with Madison County? Because they're a bunch of thieves. Okay? They've all been fired. Okay, they're no longer in charge. Sorry if I get fired up. There's a reason. These men and women that are here do the job that they're called to. I am proud of all of you. Tonight, you've done the business. We had some disagreements, but we dealt with it. You did the business, and now we can move on. What's your goal? To take care of veterans. When I got here, I tried to go through the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs, and the guy messed up my paperwork. I came to the VAC, met Ronnie, met Brad. They started working my claim. I had 3 years and an appeal. 100% disabled. I've been poisoned. I've been exposed and all of those different things. And now I'm a disabled veteran. You know, I'm a disabled combat veteran. But enough's enough. Oh, okay, thank you. Once again, proud to work alongside. And even if I couldn't work, I'd be back as a volunteer. Don't give up your diligence on doing the right thing. We take care of Madison County veterans and anybody else that we can get our arms around. And this commission, and especially Brad and the president and the rest of the crew, do a phenomenal job. And so thank you.
You can make your comment from there if you like. Anybody else? Public comment? We had a motion on the floor to adjourn. I forget who made the motion. Ron Swain. Tim Morales. All in favor for a motion to adjourn?